I don't know who that guy was with the chicken.
That's your guard chicken for your house?
That was my pet chicken.
We'll start when you're ready, though, Don.
All right. Well, if we're not going to wait for anybody else, let's talk about the new and exciting changes that are coming in the next release of Quantum. This is one of those releases that I am very excited about because not only are we just creating features that we think are lacking in the software or that we need in order to be able to do the things that we do with existing software, this release is actually creating an entirely new paradigm in the way that designers are going to use the software to create design and in the amount of flexibility that they're going to have to be able to do things that they could never do before. So what we're doing is actually very revolutionary, and I'll get into some of the reasons why. In this release of Quantum, I focused entirely on the use of true color images. And now when I say true color images, I'm implying the photographic type images that are 24-bit color resolution, and they're typically things that you would get from online. Maybe you could scan images to produce these types of images. And then what we typically work with in carpet design are 8-bit index color images. So a great deal of effort was made so that what we can do now is we can open up true color images in Quantum natively. And if you notice, this is a JPEG. So we have all of the, right now we can open JPEG, but GIFs and bitmaps and PGAs and PNGs, those are all coming. Essentially, what's happening is this is a true color image, and like I said, I don't know who the guy with the chicken is. He needs a good shave. And what's happening is this is behaving just like any other image data inside of Quantum. So, for example, if I were to set a repeat, then I can display this in just the same manner. So what's happened is we have the ability to utilize true color image data. And whenever we utilize this information, it creates a special type of layer. And this is called an image layer. You'll notice here under my layers pull down that I've got ability to add new carpet layers and new image layers. Image layers are specifically intended for storing true color image data, where carpet layers will be used to store the 8-bit index color data that we use to create our carpets. Now, the reason for this distinction and separation is because now we can have image data and carpet data inside of the same document, so that at any time when we're working on a design, we can use the image data as a backdrop, as an underlay, and we can produce a document on top of that image data and maintain a palette that's completely independent. So you see this, these shapes that I'm producing here are part of the carpet data, and they are essentially in just the same way. This is carpet data. So the two layer types that exist, the carpet layer, which is shown here with the little color swatches to represent that it's a finite palette, and the image layer, which is showing the true color wheel to represent that it's an image layer, are two distinctly separate things. We can have as many of either layer in the document as we wish, and we can composite and compose the document using as many of these layers as we want. There are a lot of restrictions that are put on the carpet layer. For example, the image layers. For example, if the image layer is active, then I'm not allowed to draw on the layer. And this was done deliberately for a number of reasons. First, if we wanted to be able to draw on these image layers, then we would have to define how all of the tools would work in that layer versus how they work in the carpet layer. We'd also have to define a way to select colors that are independent of our palette. But most importantly, the reason we cannot draw in the carpet layers is to enforce the workflow, which means that the carpet layer is where the design goes, and the image layer is an underlay that we're going to use to help us create that design. I worried that if we had all of the tools work exactly the same in both layers, then a user not knowing what they're doing could draw their entire design in an image layer, and then when they go to export that to a production file like a PAT file, there would be no palette, and so it would not be able to export. So for the purpose of defining a separation of workflow, these two layers are distinctly separate, and you cannot draw on the carpet layers. I mean the image layers. You can only draw on the carpet layers. Now you still can manipulate parts of the image layer. So any of the raster data that you bring in, you can resize it, you can position it, you can manipulate it. You can also use the image layer to create selections. So all of the selection and transformation tools will work in the carpet layers and in the image layers as well. When you're making a flood fill selection in an image layer, you now have a tolerance control so that I can now select areas of color based on a tolerance gradient, essentially. So what we can use these image underlay layers for is if I select my shirt here and I turn back on the carpet layer, I can use the palette now to fill that selection and essentially start to produce an image by tracing over that image layer. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
to have
Great.
the ability, is that go on?
That's great.
So essentially, to have the ability to have carpet data and image data in the same document means that we're not restricted to the workflow of just having to color reduce the true color image to produce a design. We can have it as an underlay to trace over or to do whatever we wish with. So not only can we use it to start a new design by tracing over that image data, but we can also use it for presentation graphics. For example, let me go and get all right, so here is a typical application for this type of workflow that's going to be vastly beneficial to the way you guys work in this design. So what we have here, if I zoom this up, is an aircraft layout from a PDF file. And essentially, I've reduced, I've cropped the image down and I scaled it up proportionately so that you see now if I turn this into feet, make a selection here, you see that this seat right here is approximately 2 feet wide. Oh, sorry, yeah, 2.5, 3 feet wide. So I've scaled the image properly. It's all the right size. Now, when working with true color data, anytime we open a document that has true color data, the document that's created will have a single image layer. We can also create as many image layers as we wish, and carpet layers as well, and we can cut and paste data from either layers, but we have to paste them into the correct layers. So if you paste from the clipboard, you have to paste carpet data into carpet layers and image data into image layers. So let me open up some other data. I'm going to take this carpet design and I'm going to select everything, copy it to the clipboard, And here in the cockpit layout, I'm just going to choose Edit, Paste to New Layer. Whenever you do Paste to New Layer, it will analyze the information on the clipboard, and if it's true color information, it will automatically paste it to a new carpet layer, a new image layer. If it's index color information, it will automatically place it on a new carpet layer. I got to stop getting those two confused. All right, we'll match the palette so that we'll use the incoming palette. And then you see here is our little piece of carpet. The palette has been loaded as well. And let me just kind of move this into position. So you see this information that I pasted to a new layer. It created a new carpet layer for this information. So the